turned up the radio to hear Brother Jimmy Lakey, from coast to coast and shore to shore. Now raise your voice. Oh, let us all, Jimmy Lakey, get out of bed. Jimmy Lakey, raise your voice. Jimmy Lakey, Lakey, hey, can't live without it with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
All right, top of the morning to you. Glad to have you here, Lakey, in the morning. And that's Monday, isn't it? Last day of June, year of our Lord 2025. That would make it June the 30th, year of our Lord 2025. 4th of July week. A lot of folks heading out on the vacation, taking the week off, but not me, not producer Chad. Here we are, my friends, joining one with another and bringing you infotainment for the next hour or less or so. It's just nice to have you here. Wherever you're at, don't forget, sound off in the chat rooms of across America as the crowd begins to gather. And if you're listening not live, you're listening on the podcast version of the show, we are sorry that you are missing the glorious program live in its full feed. I have a power issue right now, and I think the power connection has come undone. So I'm going to do this, producer Chad. I'm going to go back to a little bit of music here while I fix the connection here because I'm going to lose power on all my equipment here. So please hold. Everybody stand by. We're just getting started, but little power issue on the computer. Hold tight, everybody. Hold tight. Really. All right, we fixed it. It's all good. There's a power bank that I have in the studio here. There's two parts to it, and one goes in the wall, one goes in the computer over here. And evidently, they separate, and we don't know they separate until they separate. And it just happened. Anyway, sorry for the unprofessional beginning, but hey, we're a low-budget show. Low budget. Anyway, let us know where you're at. It's the 30th day of June, year of our Lord 2025. The big, beautiful bill is going to be the topic of conversation really this week. They've had the preliminary vote for the U.S. Senate. We got a little fireworks going on. The BBB, producer Chad says, it's on its way. Today in the U.S. Senate, they're going to do all sorts of amendments to it and expect some heated and fitful arguments there. A little battle erupting with Thom Tillis and the president. And Thom Tillis, a senator from North Carolina. We'll talk about that drama that happened over the weekend. So the big, beautiful bill is a topic of conversation. Thom Tillis is a topic of conversation. And with Thom Tillis deciding that he took on President Trump for the floor of the Senate, and Trump says, I'm going to primary him. Thom Tillis says, well, no, you're not going to primary me as a Republican. I'm not running for re-election. And Wall Street Journal has a great piece out that says, hey, Donald, careful here. You're going to run the risk of losing the U.S. Senate. You're putting your presidency in the balance by letting that seat get opened up in North Carolina. So everybody hold tight on that. We'll get into that story. What else do I have here? Oh, the fatwa. The Ayatollah, the old Ayatollah from Iran that got his ass summarily kicked last week by Donald Trump at our bunker-busting bombs. Well, he has issued a fatwa. That is a holy war against Donald Trump, and he has decided that Donald Trump must be assassinated. And so watch out for the fatwa coming from the Ayatollah. You know, Donald Trump last week, a couple of weeks ago, actually said, we know where the Grand Supreme Poobah is, the Supreme Pizza Leader. We know where he's at, and we're not going to take him out, but we do know where he's at. And so probably a bad look for the old Ayatollah to all of a sudden say a fatwa on the president. So we'll talk about that here this morning on the program. Chuck Schumer got into some shenanigans as well in the big, beautiful bill. He had a little clerk read the full bill, just kind of a stalling tactic. So they're working on working on every stall tactic they can, knowing that its passage is inevitable. So we'll talk about Chuck Schumer's big backfire. Those of you in Colorado, we're going to talk about school lunches and free lunches. Is there such thing as a free lunch? We shall discuss that this morning as well. And what else do we have? Oh, Canada caved. Canada last week, remember President Trump said, I will not do any deals with Canada. The trade talks are off until they get rid of this digital services tax. And guess what? Over the weekend happened. Canada decided, that tax we were going to tax American companies. No, we're going to let that go. So Canada has caved this morning. And what else do we have on the show sheet this morning? Oh, we got to talk a little bit more about USAID. That was a big topic back in, let's say, February and March. We're talking about the waste of fraud and abuse that was happening. Elon Musk and the Doge team was really on it. Big Balls was hard at work, and they were really trying to find everything wrong in the government. And one of the big one that the Democrats really squawked about was USAID, the United States foreign aid group that was somehow dumping money into things like circumcisions in Mozambique, Sesame Street in Saudi Arabia, all the weird stuff that they were doing. And that was waste, fraud, and abuse. And it turns out that the Democrats said this is nothing to see here. There is nothing proven. I don't know if you know this, in the last 10 days, there have been people pleading guilty in federal prison that they were committing waste, fraud, and abuse under the guise of the federal spending and the USAID. So no matter how many times somebody squawked, whether it was Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi, or whether it was John Hickenlooper from Colorado or Michael Bennet, any of these Democrats that were squawking there was no waste, fraud, and abuse. Can you answer why it is that some people have started pleading guilty and are being found guilty of waste, fraud, and abuse? So we'll talk about that this morning as well. I do have a question of the day. We have, I mentioned the 30th day of June, year of our Lord, 2024. So we will be taking some time off later this week for the 4th of July, 2025, and we'll take time off for the 4th of July. And I was thinking about the picnic or the parties or the cookouts that everybody does for the 4th of July. Now, traditionally, throughout my son's teenage years, from the time they were in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, all through high school, 4th of July was a big day in my house. All the kids gathered at my house, and I cooked burgers and hot dogs. And when they were little guys, before they had cars, they'd go head off. We had the local parade in our neighborhood, and we'd go do the parade. And then we'd have cookouts, and then the boys would ride their bicycles around town and go to the carnivals and things like that. And then the big fireworks display, and they'd come back and eat another round of hot dogs, etc. Well, this year, I think it's going to be a lot quieter. A lot of my son's friends don't come back from college, and they're going to go off and do their own thing. So 4th of July is a little bit different for me this year, but I can think of the time that cooking out of the 4th of July, if you're getting your menus ready, I started to see a lot of sales at the store, a lot of advertising up there telling you to stock up for your 4th of July. I was listening to a person that works at a liquor distributorship and said this is a very busy season for the liquor industry, the booze industry, because stores have to really stock up on the beer and the booze because people are having parties to celebrate the birthday of America. And then I started thinking about the parties that I would throw at my house for my son and his buddies. And, you'd have the hot dogs, you'd have the brats, you'd have hamburgers, you'd have 2 or 3 kinds of meat put out there. You'd have kids that were picky, so you'd have all the dressings and all the accoutrements that go to your hamburger. And some of the kids would eat a tomato, and some would eat an onion, and you just had to really slice and dice and get everybody up to speed on what, make sure everybody had a full tummy at the 4th of July. So producer Chad and I were discussing before the program, and even if you go to 4th of July, you're going to have somebody's going to make a tossed salad, somebody's going to make a potato salad, somebody may make a chicken salad or an egg salad. And so here's the question. The question of the day is this. For your 4th of July cookout and party that you're getting ready to throw to celebrate America, if you can only have one food there, if you could only take one dish, maybe if you could only make one meat, which one would you choose? If I had to choose between the brats, the hot dogs, and the hamburgers, I'm going to just go with the hamburgers. I'm going to skip the brats and the dogs. If I have to go with just one salad, a good potato salad, that's a good potato salad. You got to love a potato salad. And so that's the question of the day. What is your item, the one food item that your 4th of July barbecue, your 4th of July celebration, your Independence Day celebration should include and must include, and what is it that you are not going to forego? If you're going to have one thing on the 4th of July, you got to have this one thing. And it's funny how in America our holidays coordinate with food. I had a buddy who had a birthday last week, and in his birthday, his wife makes him a homemade pumpkin pie. Now, I know it's not the celebration of the seasonal celebration of pumpkin pie, Thanksgiving or Christmas. We always have to think of pumpkin pie, but pumpkin pie is always a fantastic item to have, and he likes that for his birthday. Every year when his birthday happens in June, he wants a pumpkin pie. And if there's one sweet that I have to eat over the holidays, Thanksgiving or Christmas, it would be pumpkin pie. I love my pumpkin pie. You got to get the Cool Whip in the Cool Whip in the tub, and you got to spoon it on there. None of that squirt stuff. No, you got to spoon it out, slather it on there. So 4th of July is also one of those things. And by the way, I do know people that will start yelling at me that I'm calling it the 4th of July. There are people that are very picky that 4th of July is the date. You call it Christmas. You don't call it the 25th of December. I get it. So it is Independence Day. So I don't want to offend anybody that is out there. But if your Independence Day celebration, what is the one food that you have to have? What's the food that is a go-to for you? The answers have already started coming in. And RJ says macaroni salad. That's probably last on my list. It wasn't even on my sample list, but RJ's got to have the macaroni salad. I guess well done. That's probably a good thing. Scott says German potato salad. Now, you know what? I always get confused on my potato salads. I grew up in Texas, and we're just real simple people. And you had Texas, all the good barbecue restaurants have a good potato salad. And there was one in particular that I love their potato salad. It's fantastic. Never found anybody that can duplicate it. And I don't know if that was German. I don't know what kind of potato salad is. So, Scott, we're going to beseech you, therefore, for an answer. What defines a German potato salad? Is it... There's so many bad jokes that I could make right now that I'm not going to make them because they would be deemed inappropriate. But what makes a German potato salad as opposed to, let's say, an Austrian potato salad? Scott says burgers and potato salad. So Scott's going to choose one from each category, burgers and potato salad. Anybody going to choose the hot dog or the brats over the burgers if you only could choose one? Jeff says hot dogs and apple pie. Salads are for vegans. I kind of feel like when I eat the burger, I'm eating a salad because that cow has been eating all the grass and all the green stuff, and I'm just simply eating the fruits of that cow's digestion tract. So he's puffed up and gotten big and strong, and I'm eating that. So I'm actually kind of vegan when I'm eating a cow. If you could only have one food item for your 4th of July barbecue, or should we say your Independence Day barbecue, what would that be? Scott also jumps in and says, I only eat pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving, so I don't want to get used to it. A good pumpkin pie is a season. It's not like Starbucks where they put out these fruity drinks called pumpkin spice. Yeah, no, a good pumpkin pie is all season. It's like a good set of tires, all season tires, and pumpkin pie could be a go-to. I don't think the Lord would judge you if you have a pumpkin pie at your 4th of July holiday. Now, the pumpkin pie probably doesn't keep up very well in the heat if it's outside. You'd probably need to keep it refrigerated. But, an apple pie, well, I like apple pies as well. But if you had to choose between the apple and the blueberry, the apple and so you can tell I'm hungry. The apple and the pumpkin, I'm going to take the pumpkin, I think. Well, it depends on the apple pie. It really does. Anybody figure out what the German potato salad is? I like American potato salad. Does that make me different? I like America first about potato salad. I know there's mustard-based potato salads. I've never made potato salad. I'm not pretending to be a connoisseur of the potato salads, but a good potato salad on the 4th of July, nothing says celebrate America. Nothing says God bless America like a good potato salad. Nothing. Well, a good burger can do that as well. All right, good to have all of you here on the show. That's your question of the day. What's the one food? If you can only take one food, have one food, and your entire Independence Day feast is going to be made up of that one food. What would that food be for you? And what is it going to be at your barbecue? And which food if you're joining in a party, how many of you have a go-to, a signature? A signature that if you showed, we have, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. We have the definition of the German potato salad by Scott. Look at this. It's in the chat box right now. Here it is. Chef Obnoxious says, unlike mayonnaise-based American potato salads, German potato salad is tossed in a vinegar-based dressing made with bacon drippings. It is usually served warm instead of cold But some people prefer it, that it drops off from there. He just says to prefer it. So it's not mayonnaise based. It's not mustard. Okay, here's Sander Girl says German is served hot, potatoes, bacon, green onion, vinegar, and sugar. Delicious, but much more of a winter dish, says Sander Girl. All right, now we have it. Now we have educate. I guess I've never had German potato salad because I don't think I've ever had a warm potato salad. Scott says some people can serve it at room temperature. All right, German potato salad. I'm going to make a note of that and see if I can try some German potato salad. I've never tried it. It does sound like a winter dish if it's served warm or room temperature. Usually by the end of the day, it's warm anyway. All right, so your favorite type of potato salad? We have digressed into potato salad recipes. You know, another thing I've never made that people have at cookouts and I like to eat them. I've never made potato salad to take along to the party. I've never made one, and you know what? I've also never made. I'm proud to say, because I'd probably screw it up. Deviled eggs. I have never made the deviled eggs. I don't think I have the patience to do it. I don't think I don't know. I've never done it. Now, I love deviled eggs. You make some good deviled eggs. There's some people I know that can make some green chili deviled eggs. There's some people that can make jalapeno-based deviled eggs. Some bacon in your yolk on that deviled egg. That is a good thing. But I have never, ever, ever made deviled eggs, nor have I made a potato salad. And I hope I'm okay to be honest with you about the things that I have not done in the kitchen. I have not. Scott says, growing up with a Japanese mom, she would put shrimp and imitation crab in her potato salad. I don't judge that. I think that Japanese mom is a very smart lady. Shyla says for her 4th of July, she's going to pick one from each category. She's going to have the hot dog and the baked beans. You know, good baked beans. Producer Chad was talking about some baked beans he had yesterday, or somebody had yesterday, and said they were fantastic. Roger says, he's speaking German. Himmel and heaven and earth, German dish of mashed potatoes with apples, not potato salad, but the best mashed potatoes from the earth, apples from heaven. So that's a dish. I guess I've had mashed potatoes at a 4th of July celebration, but I don't necessarily think of it. It doesn't inspire flag waving for me. You know, a pumpkin pie, it could make me celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and the birth of America. That's what a pumpkin pie can do. Potato salad can also make me want to wave a flag and celebrate America as well. Mashed potatoes may make me go yummy and say I'm going to have to go on a diet, but I'll have to try them. I'm not saying any of these food items, I'm happy to try them. I'm happy to partake in them, but the German potato salad, I'm going to have to put that on my list. And the Himmel und Erde. I'm speaking German today. Anyway, there's your question of the day. Everybody's jumping in here on the topic. What is the one thing that you are known for or you would take to a barbecue cookout on Independence Day? If you're going to take a salad to the barbecue cookout, one of the things that I like is anything with cucumber. Cool cucumber there. Maybe it's just one of those cucumber and onion and tomato. You have had those salads. Anything with cucumber goes very well on the 4th of July. Very, very well. Jeff says pumpkin pie is only a vehicle for whipped cream. You know, and it's not the squirt bottle. You got to get it in the tub and you got to slop it on spoonful after spoonful. That's how you do it. Pumpkin pie is a delivery vehicle, I agree. But it does make me sometimes want to sing Hallelujah, the Lord is born, and God bless America. So pumpkin pie is a very, very, very celebratory thing in my memory hole. It is. All right, there's your question today. Keep your answers coming. What's the one thing that you would do? Is there any? So somebody chose hot dogs and baked beans. I'm going to go with the burgers. If you have to have one meat on the grill, and we're only going to get one, we're not going to get burgers, brats, and dogs. A grilled chicken, I know people make grilled chicken because there's people that only like the white meat and the chicken. You know, you can leave the chicken away on the 4th of July for me. I'm going to go with the burger. I'm going to go with the dogs. And if I have to choose between the burgers, dogs, and brats, I'm going to go with the burger. Now, there are some caveats to that. If you're buying the burgers like from the Costco or the Sam's Club and they're the pre-made patties and you haven't seasoned them up, not so much. But a good burger made of some ground round and you put it together yourself, I'll go with that over the hot dog most days. I really will. All right, good to have you here on the program. We do talk something besides 4th of July picnics, but that is our question of the day, is what is it that you would take, or what is it that your favorite thing is on the 4th of July celebratory cookout, Independence Day coming up Friday in America, and how do you intend to celebrate it? And has anybody ever taken a pumpkin pie? Would you be frowned upon if you took a pumpkin pie to the 4th of July Independence Day barbecue? I don't think you would be. I think you would be accepted. I think you would probably be welcomed as an American hero if you actually took a apple pie and a pumpkin pie. And any of the berries, if you can do a blueberry pie, oh, good Lord in heaven. And by the way, I'm going to blaspheme for some of you. Don't put ice cream on your pie this the 4th of July. What do they call that? A la mode? Yeah, don't do that. Why? If you have a pie that can stand alone, let your pie stand alone. You do not need to bastardize that thing with the ice cream, vanilla ice cream. My friends in Texas are all saying, we do the bluebell ice cream. No, you should not put ice cream on your pie. It's just wrong. You should let it stand alone. And if you want to do it, I'm not going to judge you, but I kind of going to judge you in my heart. No a la mode on the ice cream, on the pie. I just want the pie. The pie is a delivery mechanism for pie. With the exception, we have established in the law that there is an exception for a delivery mechanism for the Cool Whip on the pumpkin pie. That's true. But if you're getting a good apple pie, you don't need to have that thing all soggy with vanilla ice cream. You just need the apple to stand alone, and that apple is screaming, I am the red on the flag, and I stand for the blood of the people laid down there. That apple is telling a story about patriotism. Don't screw it up with ice cream. Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong. Is there anybody out there that agrees with me that ice cream and pie normally should not go together? It's not a way to celebrate America. Feel free to sound off on that in the chat room. That could be the most controversial opinion I've ever had, is that you should not put ice cream on a pie. Have I put ice cream on a pie? Yes. And I went to church and I repented and I said, I'm so sorry for doing that. Ice cream should not go in a pie. Anybody a la mode fans out there? Don't be an a la mode fan. Right? Especially, it's not American. I don't think the founders of our country, they might have had pie, but they weren't putting ice cream on it. What would George Washington need? That's what you should ask yourself, and he would not have ice cream on his pie. All right, we're celebrating America this Friday, and we're going to celebrate it with food. Feel free. All the platforms. Have we heard from Rumble this morning? Don't think I've heard a Rumble around there. If you're on the Rumble, make a comment in the comments section. We'll see that here. A lot of Facebook activity. Good morning to the Twitter feed. Everybody's watching it on the X feed, the Twitter, Jimmy Lakey. That's my name. You can find me there, facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page. Also, thanks to the folks at Red Wave America, the folks at Media Equalizer that are allowed to... we're allowed to use their platform as well. My Facebook is facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page. And also the YouTube. We have made it almost 5 months without being spanked, paddled, or reprimanded by YouTube for some of the opinions and thoughts and conversations that we have here. So good for us. We're surviving on the YouTube. If you're on YouTube, also, your comments do make it here to the conversation as well. I do want to get to the big, beautiful bill, but another controversial statement has just been made in the chat room. We got to bring this up. Scott says, you ready for this? This could be blasphemy. This could be treasonous. She has declared a fatwa on her apple pie. My wife puts American cheese on apple pie. I cannot even fathom, first of all, how did that happen? And second of all, why? Scott, I don't know. I don't know if counseling, therapy, prayer, something you might need. Why would you put American cheese, like the little plastic cheese slices, those American cheeses, and you put that on an apple pie? Yeah, I don't know about that. And Scott's also in the bacon cheddar deviled eggs. I've never made deviled eggs in my life. I love deviled eggs. If somebody brings deviled eggs, I think it's fantastic. My friend Roger, who has his Roger and Sherry's culinary dinners, they've done fundraising events for River's Promise. He's been known to make some very mean deviled eggs. Matter of fact, he had a deviled egg cook-off, like a contest one time between him and some of the chefs. And I declare all of them a winner. If you're making deviled eggs and they're good, you're all winners. I could not tell the difference, but they were all delicious in my tummy. All right, now it's just getting weird out there. We're going to have a priest come into the show here. Scott says, Scott says, my wife puts American cheese on apple pie. And then there's somebody else named Scott. The other Scott jumps in and says, yeah, I agree. That's yummy. What is wrong with you people? American cheese? American cheese on an apple pie. Scott says she warms it up. I don't know if marriage counseling is even going to help this. I don't know if marriage counseling, if it survives, God bless them. I don't know. Maryland blue crab deviled eggs versus Bloody Mary deviled eggs. That's what we had. And I chose both of them. I think both of them were going well. And the problem with deviled eggs is they're bite-sized, right? You're probably supposed to eat small bits of them, pop them in the mouth like a jalapeno popper, and that's a good 4th of July. Again, deviled eggs done well do make you want to sing God Bless America. All right, enough of that question of that right there. Enough of that question, of the question of the day. Good to have you here. Anybody watch the big, beautiful bill? They're passing some amendments on that today, debating amendments. It's hopefully, they think, going to get back over to the House. They have to reconcile the final Senate version with what the House has. The House will have to adopt what the Senate has, or then they'll have to have a committee come together and try to fix it. But everybody's expecting that perhaps they will meet the arbitrary and random deadline that was set by the president of 4th of July to get this thing passed. I got a question for you. The Wall Street Journal asked, and it's something different than the deviled eggs and the 4th of July Independence Day cook-off. What is the one item you're going to bring? Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina, normally a pretty good guy, he came out and he says he opposed the bill. He says it's in direct opposition of what Donald J. Trump campaigned on. And then he said he would not seek re-election a day after announcing his opposition to the Trump bill, the big, beautiful bill, which the Republicans say it has tax breaks and spending cuts. But Tillis says he's proud of his career in public service, acknowledged a difficult political environment for those who buck their party and go it alone. Thom Tillis says in Washington over the past few years has become increasingly evident that leaders who are willing to embrace bipartisanship, compromise, and demonstrate independent thinking are becoming an endangered species. Sometimes those bipartisan initiatives get me in trouble with my own party, but I wouldn't have changed a single one. Trump, in a series of social posts, had berated Tillis for being one of 2 Republican senators who voted against the big, beautiful bill on Saturday night in advancing the massive bill. The Republican president accused Thom Tillis, not to be mistaken for Mel Tillis, of seeking publicity with his no vote, threatened to campaign against him. The Republican president also accused Tillis of doing nothing to help his constituents after last year's devastating floods. In the social media post, Donald Trump said Tillis is a talker and a complainer. He's not a doer. He won the Senate election in 2014. He was up for his 3rd term, and Thom Tillis, not to be mistaken for Mel Tillis, has decided he's not going to run for re-election after the president has said he would campaign against him. Let me ask you a question, and here's another question that you have to contemplate. The Wall Street Journal comes out with an op-ed piece regarding this, and it's an opinion piece by the Wall Street Journal, by the editorial board. It's a House op-ed. A common feature of Donald Trump's 2 terms as president is that he can't stand political prosperity. When events are going in his direction, he has an uncanny habit of handing his opponents a sword. The latest example came Sunday after GOP leaders dragged several holdouts across the finish line to vote aye and start the debate over the Senate version of the budget reconciliation bill in the House. The vote was 51-49, but Trump could not leave victory alone. Instead of accepting victory, he unloaded on the 2 GOP dissenters. He unloaded on Rand Paul of Kentucky and especially came down hard on Thom Tillis of North Carolina. Mr. Trump dumped 3 different Truth Social posts on Mr. Tillis, calling him a sellout, a talker, a complainer, and various other insults. He also promised to support a Republican opponent in the GOP primary in 2026 when Mr. Tillis's term ends. In doing that, Thom Tillis says, I'm tapping out. I'm not running for re-election. And so the Wall Street Journal, in an op-ed piece, their House op-ed piece, says that Donald Trump just can't leave well enough alone. And they say by helping to drive Thom Tillis into retirement, he now puts his own presidency at risk. By calling out Thom Tillis because Donald Trump won, but he had to go spike the ball in the face of Rand Paul and Thom Tillis, the Wall Street Journal is arguing that maybe Donald Trump is going to sabotage his own presidency because an open Senate seat depending on the political atmosphere of the candidates they have in North Carolina, could be very troublesome, and it's easier to win an election with an incumbent than it is a newbie. So on one hand, I'm glad that Thom Tillis, I think 3 terms is too much in the U.S. Senate. That's the absolute max, in my opinion. And Thom Tillis is not going to do that. But do you agree or disagree with the Wall Street Journal? The Wall Street Journal says, hey, you already won. You got it across the finish line. You shamed people in. Some people voted for it. It's not the best bill in the world, but it's the best you can get in the political atmosphere we live in. Was it right or wrong for Donald Trump to go blasting Thom Tillis and threatening him with a primary challenge? What say you? Do you agree with the Wall Street Journal that if anybody's going to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat or just not being able to accept a political bounty, the Wall Street Journal is arguing and saying, you know what, there's no need to go blast Thom Tillis right now. You won. You got it across the finish line. It ain't a big deal. And now you're going to risk the U.S. Senate in 2026 when the battle lines were already not necessarily favoring you on number of seats that Democrats versus Republicans had to have to defend. So give me your thoughts on that. It is an interesting piece by the Wall Street Journal. And again, Donald Trump is it's always kind of quite interesting here that you're right, he won. He rather than celebrating the big, beautiful bill, the big news story today becomes Thom Tillis stepping down from the U.S. Senate. So give me your thoughts on that in the chat room. You can put that right up there with your wiener and hot dog and potato salad comments about the 4th of July. The Wall Street Journal says he's putting his presidency at risk, going to make it harder for Republicans to maintain a majority in the U.S. Senate. What say you? Jump in. Now, Wall Street Journal critical of the president, saying, hey, Mr. President, you won the big, beautiful bill. You got people across the finish line. You put together a coalition that some people thought you'd never put together, even among your own party. So why not leave well enough alone? And why go after Rand Paul and Thom Tillis, especially in the fact that you're going to primary them and campaign against Thom Tillis? What good does that do? And how does that advance your agenda down the road? So the Wall Street Journal has an interesting observation. And if you'd like to comment on that, feel free to do so. All right, the chat room has erupted into absolute chaos. I'm looking more and more comments on all the platforms that are happening out there about this revelation that Mr. Scott, one of the Scotts that listen to us, we have a lot of people named Scott, his wife puts American cheese on her apple pie. And now Stacy is jumping in on the Facebook platform I'm seeing. It says, I don't think I can do cheese on pie. You know what I love about that comment from Stacy? We're like 5 minutes down the road here. We've moved on from the pie, right? We're now about the Thom Tillis and the Donald Trump and the Wall Street Journal, and we have a whole new topic coming on. And I can see Stacy over there going, I don't think I could do the cheese on the pie. Wait. She's still contemplating it. Stacey, I don't think Stacey heard about Thom Tillis. I don't think she heard about Donald Trump. I don't think she heard about any of it. I think she's just like, I can't. See, it was disturbing. And I don't blame you, Stacey. It was very disturbing to hear that somebody puts American cheese on their apple pie. And you know what? I'm going to have to be honest with you. I want to try it just because I want to try it now. But now, see, this is the problem. It's the Bible. The Bible says bring every thought into captivity. I'm going to have to bring that thought into captivity because the next time somebody brings a pie, an apple pie to a party, I'm going to ask for a slice of American cheese, and then I'm going to go behind like the dumpster behind a bush somewhere, like I'm selling meth or something, and I'm going to eat the American cheese on my pie. I just don't understand that. That's one. I get the sweet and savory, but the sweet and the cheesy, I'm not understanding. Yeah, if anybody says they're going to put cheddar cheese or pepper jack on their American, you might as well move. You might as well just surrender the American flag and move to Canada. All right, so there's Stacy. We're talking about the U.S. presidency is at risk. The Senate is at risk. And see, Kay says cheddar cheese on apple pie. Somebody went there. I knew someone would go there. You people are off the rails. All of you are off the rails right now, and we may have to have a prayer meeting here in a second. We have to get a pastor on here and do an exorcism for some of you bastardizing the apple pie. And that's also, we had moved on from the discussion, and now Kay's out there going, American cheese. Let's do the cheddar cheese. Everybody's just kind of forgetting about the conversations we have. Yeah. All right. Anyway, good to have you here. Who agrees with the Wall Street Journal that President Trump needs to behave himself and not be going after Thom Tillis? Anybody sad to see, anybody in North Carolina out there sad to see Thom Tillis not running for re-election? I've always thought Thom Tillis was a nice guy. Don't follow North Carolina politics. It seemed like a pretty decent vote in the U.S. Senate from what I could tell. I mean, I'm sure I don't agree with him on everything, but I have to say, I'm not sad to see anybody go, Republican or Democrat, after they've served 2 to 3 terms. They should be out of there anyway. And so Thom Tillis is term limiting himself. And maybe it is going to risk a little turnover and toss around in the U.S. Senate. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the political landscape in North Carolina, but the Wall Street Journal says, Donald, excuse me, Mr. President, you just won. Don't make the story about you versus Thom Tillis. No need to do that. Just get out there and celebrate the victory. So what say you regarding President Trump and his, rather than spiking the ball, we got it past the U.S. Senate. Rather than doing that, he decided to go after Thom Tillis, and the Wall Street Journal is in disagreement with that. Feel free to jump in. And, of course, our overarching question of the day, if you could take one dish, if you only get to take one dish to a 4th of July barbecue, Independence Day celebration, what is that one dish that you're going to eat if you only get to choose one? And we have digressed and diverted ourselves into putting cheese on pies. So something's not right. Speaking of President Trump and victory, last week was a big victorious week for Donald John Trump. I mean, last week was the week you don't want to go bet against Donald J. Trump. It's just not a good thing. I mean, he was winning battles with Iran. He was winning battles in the court. He was doing so many winning. I had a friend tell me the other night, he says, I'm so tired of winning. I just can't stand it. He was joking, the winning is happening on a regular basis. Well, we have more winning from the president. Breaking news this morning is that Canada has caved. Donald Trump last week announced with no apologies, that all trade talks are off with Canada. Screw them. He says you corrupt bunch of Canadians that continue to elect people like Justin Trudeau and jackwagons up there. You put a technology tax on American firms, and it really targets American firms, and it's really unfair. And so he decided on Friday that he was not going to have trade talk anymore with Canada until they suspended or got rid of that tax on American technology firms. Well, guess what? 72 hours, Canada has announced now that it is suspending a tax on the U.S. technology firms that caused President Trump to suspend tax negotiations between the two nations, handing a major victory to the American president, says justthenews.com. The Canadian government said it was suspending enforcement of the tax that was due to be collected starting today, saying the action was taken in anticipation of a mutually beneficial comprehensive trade arrangement with the United States. Prime Minister Mark Carney informed the Trump administration of the decision, and the two sides plan now to resume their trade talks on or about July the 21st. Trump had called the tax on technology firms a tax on America and suspended trade talks Friday to pressure Canada, and the pressure got to Canada, and within 48 hours, they had dropped that tax. You know what's interesting about this? How many other taxes have been implemented and put on American companies by random nations, Canada, Mexico, the European Union, wherever it's at, Bangladesh? Somebody puts a tax or a fee or a tariff and increases the cost of America to do good there and to do trade there, to do business there. And we had a president that never talked about it. As a matter of fact, if Donald Trump had not talked about this unfair tax on American technology companies, you would have never known that the Canadians had targeted America like that. Well, now you know. So you don't have to like Donald Trump's negotiating skills, but I am happy that he sees that the tech companies are taking it on the chin in Canada. And Donald Trump says we're not going to take that kind of stuff anymore. You know that these tariffs and fees and taxes have happened before. They happen all the time. And yet Donald Trump calls it out. And within 48 hours, the Canadians bow down and say, never mind, we're looking forward to that trade deal. It's a new sheriff in town for sure. Other countries for years have taken advantage of America. They have taxed us. They have tariffed us. They have pushed us around. They have done everything they can to make Americans' business and enterprises more difficult to operate overseas. And we have a president now that says we have a president now that calls it out. And it does make me think about how many other technology taxes or other taxes have been waged against American companies and industries when it comes to doing business on foreign soil, and we don't know. But the bottom line is Canada has caved. That didn't take long, did it? I mean, they caved quicker than the Iranians caved and decided to take a ceasefire. The Iranians at least held their own against missiles and bullets for 12 days. Attacked by the Israelis and then the bunker buster bombs of America, and then they accepted the ceasefire, right? Well, the Canadians, 48 hours in, the prime minister says, oh, that tax, never mind, we're not going to implement that. All right, good to have you here. Scott says this. It's everybody named Scott today? One thing Dems don't do is attack each other publicly. You're probably right about that. But Democrats, well, they do attack each other publicly. They attack if you differ. If you differ with their opinion, you get attacked publicly. I would say Mr. Fetterman from Pennsylvania has been attacked publicly because he dared to have a differing of opinion. And that's one of the things that if I were me, I'll just say if it's me, if it were me and I'm not the president of the United States, but if it were me and I just won a major victory and got a coalition together and got a very complex bill across the finish line, probably really quickly, a lot of controversy about this big, beautiful bill. A lot of folks in the U.S. Senate wanted it to be in 2 or 3 bills, not one big bill. So, I mean, this was a tough one to get across. This was a tough drag. And Donald Trump and the House and the Senate Republicans got it across. And I think that should have been the celebratory moment. And if it were me, I probably would not have gone after Thom Tillis or Rand Paul, and I would not have made a big deal because you got some things across the finish line, and ultimately they voted their conscience, and you still won. But Wall Street Journal says when you do that, President Trump, you just need to know that you're really risking everything. From the chat room, it's almost scary that Trump knows so much about everything. You know, that's right. I mean, again, how many times has there been a tax put on American companies, a tax put out on American goods, whether it's, again, Canada or Austria, or I don't know, it could be, I said, Bangladesh, Honduras. They put a fee on us, on American companies, and we don't know about it. And yet now all of a sudden, we do know about it because Donald Trump's paying attention and he sees what those little smarmy Canadians are doing. And he says, yeah, you thought you're going to sneak that in on me? No trade deal for you. He says, no. All right, now we're back to the cheese topic. Everybody's on the cheese. Cheese on my hamburger for the 4th. Trump cracks me up when he speaks sometimes, but I have to love that he's a take charge kind of guy. So Stacey's, I think, sounds like she's okay with attacking Thom Tillis because he's just kind of a take charge kind of guy. You know, I'm not offended by it or anything. I don't. Again, maybe there's more to the story of the relationship with Tillis that I don't know of. I don't know the answer to that, but God bless Donald Trump and Thom Tillis. We wish you well. But the Wall Street Journal does have a very interesting point that you got to be careful and be able to win an election in North Carolina. Now, here's a topic of conversation for you as well. Anybody realize that the Democrat Party has financial problems? We talked about this last week. We talked about a lot of their big donors have fallen off the planet. They're not giving. There's been controversy with the new chairperson of the Democrat Party, and they have real problems. And the Republican parties, interestingly enough, have hundreds and hundreds of $1 million in their coffers ready to go. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, even though Kamala Harris raised $15 billion in her 90-day campaign, I mean, they normally are awash in funds. And now all of a sudden, since the first of the year, since Kamala got her butt kicked, they're no longer awash in funds there in the Democrat Party. It has been talked about for 2 to 3 weeks, and I think it's growing more and more funny that the Democrats are way behind on spending. And they're going to on raising money. They're going to have to get some people to give to them. And when was the last time you heard the Democrats were out of money? They always seem to have money. They have money. They have special interest money. They have Soros money, but the party itself is out of money. They're really broke right now. And they're saying, well, it's because we're allocating budget every month for the state directors to have extra funds in their coffer. And they're making excuses, but all the commentators are kind of watching and going, we have a financial problem. Here's the Democrat Party. I talked about this 2 to 3 weeks ago, and I saw it circulating again on various and sundry conversations over the weekend, that there is some irony and or interest in the fact that, remember when we talked about USAID, and they said, there's no waste, fraud, and abuse, and now you have people pleading guilty to waste, fraud, and abuse with USAID and government dollars. I'll get to that story here in just a moment. but we often said it's a money laundering scam. It is a money laundering deal in which you give money to organizations. Those organizations say they're going to do circumcisions in Mozambique or whatever they're going to do. And then all of a sudden, somebody makes a big donation to some PAC or some Democrat party, and the government tax dollars that were given in the name of world good get donated back to your political party, your political affiliation. Is it irony or is it of interest that Democrats suddenly have gone broke after Democrats have suddenly gone broke after the fact that we gutted USAID? In other words, was the screaming of Democrats. Remember the Democrats all screaming F Donald Trump, and they were singing, and they were trying to get into the USAID door and trying to find Elon Musk. Remember the chaos of March and April when it came to doging, and USAID was like the Democrats cause celeb that there's no waste, fraud, and abuse here. And suddenly, once the waste, fraud, and abuse have been exposed, now the Democrats are broke. It's either ironic or it's very interesting that the crashing down of USAID and the shutting down of some of the slush funds that were being spent that were probably going to some political causes they shouldn't go. It is interesting that the Democrat coffers are seemingly dry right about the time 3, 2, 1, right about the same time that the cuts from Doge started to kick in. So just a little observation there. You should pay attention to that and just find the irony of it, if nothing else, or maybe there's some of that money was actually going back into political spin, which is actually possible. Here's the story that I keep referring to. USAID officials and 3 corporate executives pled guilty last week to a decade-long bribery scheme involving $550 million in contracts. 2 companies have admitted criminal liability for bribery scheme and securities fraud. So there's your story, that while the Democrats were saying that there's no waste, fraud, and abuse, and Donald Trump and big balls and Elon Musk are just cutting things arbitrarily, unfortunately, they were cutting it arbitrarily. There's fraud and abuse happening. Fox News story: following the uncovering of a massive bribery scandal, the Small Business Administration is ordering a full audit of government contracting officers who have exercised grant awarding authority under the agency's business development program over the last 15 years. In following up the uncovering of this bribery scandal, of which people have pled guilty now, Kelly Loeffler, who's the Small Business Administration SBA secretary, has instructed Associate Administrator Trey Penny to oversee government contracts awarded by small business, to act decisively and crack down on any potential similar abuses in the agency. Now, all of this waste, fraud, and abuse is being uncovered and has been announced that was actually that USAID government officials and corporate executives have pled guilty to a decade-long bribery scheme in using U.S. government money, $550 million in contracts, and it's a big scandal that broke out, and it all happened because Elon Musk and Big Balls and Donald Trump decided to do a little deep dive in doging of the USAID. So, again, the irony is not lost on me that, again, USAID was in a bribery scheme involving over $550 million in contracts, and you have to wonder how many of those contracts are awarded and how many then dollars of those companies go back to the Democrat Party. Is it ironic or is it interesting? Very, very interesting that the Democrats have run out of money about the same time that the fraud and abuse was discovered at USAID. Arloa's jumping in from Texas this morning. Good morning, Arloa. Isn't that interesting that the Democrats are in financial woes at the same time the USAID is doged? Arloa, my point exactly. Rich in the chat room says this: it's interesting how something that is good, eliminating waste, fraud, and excess, is protested against so much. Question and investigate deeper. Rich, I think you're onto something. We should have a lot of questions here about the Democrat Party running out of money. When was the last time we heard the Democrats are out of money? They bragged about how many billions of dollars they can raise with a horrible candidate like Kamala Harris. We had a presidential candidate like Joe Biden who was pooping his pants in public and walking around a stage like he was a lost fool in a memory care center and probably should be on lockdown. I love you, Joe, but dear goodness gracious. And yet the Democrats would give billions and billions to that, supposedly. maybe that money was not coming from those individual donors that you thought. I mean, there are some I know that would still give money because they're in the cult, but there's a lot of folks out there that are raising their eyebrow and say USAID gets shut down, and it's not good. All right, a couple of funny stories. Chuck Schumer was fighting, and Thom Tillis was going to vote no, and so Donald Trump goes after Thom Tillis. That's a question of the day. The Wall Street Journal says, be careful, Mr. President. You're putting your presidency at risk. You don't have to go after Tillis. You just won a ballot in the U.S. Senate. Why go after Tillis? Well, Tillis is not going to run for re-election out of North Carolina. Any listeners or viewers in North Carolina, let us know your thoughts on that. I don't follow that much of I don't follow that much of what happens in North Carolina, so I'd love to get your take on it. But Chuck Schumer made a mistake. Chuck Schumer decided to stall. He was going to have the bill read, and he took a gambit, and he asked the clerk there, a woman, to read it. It's 940 pages, the big, beautiful bill, and this is from the Gateway Pundit. Despicable Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer's stunt to have the 940-page big, beautiful bill read has officially blown up in his face today after his party got exposed to a basic biological fact that they seem to be clueless about. I have the video, as the Gateway Pundit, though, reports. The Senate last night advanced the big, beautiful bill to a full debate, despite two GOP detractors. After hours of drama and following the vote, Schumer took to social media in a vow that he would make the Senate read the entire 940-page bill to stall its inevitable passage. Well, when he took to social media and said, we're going to read this thing, the lady starts reading it. And shortly after hearing this part of the bill, the Democrats were like, do we have to read this out loud? This is what they heard when Chuck Schumer demanded that this clerk stand there and read, hey, woman, you read 940 pages because I'm Chucky Schumer and I demand it of you. And so she starts reading it, and this is what Democrats were shocked to hear was in the bill.
Paragraph 3. The term female means an individual who naturally has, had, will have, or would have, but for a developmental or genetic anomaly or historical accident, the reproductive system that at some point produces, transports, and utilizes eggs for fertilization. 5. Male. For purposes of paragraph 3, the term male means an individual who naturally has, had, will have, or would have, but for a developmental or genetic anomaly or historical accident, the reproductive system that at some point produces, transports, and utilizes sperm for fertilization. Sex 71115.
So there you have Chuck Schumer asked for the reading of the bill out loud, and then they had to put a little emphasis on there and say, oh, by the way, guess what the bill has? The bill has a whole bunch of information about biology, a biology lesson for the Democrats. And shortly after that, I'm sure Chuck was very disappointed that he asked for the reading of the bill because his own team got a little bit educated when it came to what a gender is and what a male definition is and a female definition. So good for the reading of the bill. All right. Oh, there's one more thing about the bill I want to get to, and it's still, they're adding amendments. We'll go through the amendments tomorrow, what they are. But this is a very interesting one. I think I have it. Well, I got to find the story here. It's buried here in all my tabs here. It's a question about in the big, beautiful bill, you have to ask yourself, did the Republicans finally get a set of cojones? In the big, beautiful bill, did the Republicans get a set of big, beautiful balls? It's unusual for Republicans in the national level to have that big set of beautiful balls because they don't. But Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Senate GOP finally grew a spine, and they sent a message to the unelected bureaucrat trying to tear apart the big, beautiful bill. The Gateway Pundit readers know that Senate parliamentarian, her name is Elizabeth McDonough, struck down several key features of the big, beautiful bill, including defunding of Medicaid for illegal aliens and defunding gender-affirming care under the Medicaid and CHIP, citing the Byrd Rule. The Senate parliamentarian Elizabeth McDonough also axed the Medicare provider tax, which complicated the Senate GOP's math on spending cuts they wanted to help use to pass the legislation. This was the second time that this McDonough lady had removed key parts of a Trump bill. The Gateway Pundit reported she last weekend struck down several provisions in the bill by replying the Byrd Rule. But on Sunday, the U.S. Senate managed to work around the parliamentarian and implement language that cleared her previous ruling. And this time she rolled over. So you have a parliamentarian saying, well, I know you want to cut this, that, and you want to do that, but you can't do that. It's not in the parliamentary guides. And the elected officials normally will hide behind the parliamentarian and say, yeah, we really wanted to make those cuts, but that parliamentarian, she told us we couldn't do it. They hide behind unelected bureaucrats and blame the rules of the Senate or the rules of the House from not allowing them or preventing them from doing their job. And guess what? The Republicans did not hide behind Ms. McDonough. Instead, they rewrote it, and she green-lighted a reworked version and decided that they were going to put it in the bill anyway. So the Republicans, for once, again, normally they would use a parliamentary tricks in order to not have to do everything they say they're going to do. But good for the Republicans. They actually seem to have grown some cojones. And the big, beautiful bills being passed by people with big, beautiful balls in the Republican Party. Now, is it a perfect bill? No. Does it get everything you want? No. Does Rand Paul have a point? Yes. Did Thomas Massey have a point in the House? Yes. Did Thom Tillis have a point? Yes, they probably did. Did Elon Musk have a point? Yes, they probably all had a point, because there is not perfection in this bill. But this is the bill in the political environment that we live in that is probably the best we're going to get. And if you don't pass a bill, you're going to end up with spending, you're going to end up with a lot of things that you don't want, including tax hikes, largest in American history. Rich asked a question from the Facebook chat room. Was it the Democrat Pelosi policy to vote the bill in before you read the bill? Yeah, that Chuck Schumer's getting blasted on social media. Not only did he have to hear, and the Democrats have to hear the definition of biological gender, but social media users are going after Chuck Schumer, and they're roasting him immensely. Chuck Schumer put out a little tweet, said, I know they haven't read the damn bill. I'm going to make them read the damn bill. So suddenly Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are worried about reading a bill. And I believe they should all read the bill. I agree with that. But again, it's not like you can come out and lecture us about reading bills when you said you got to pass the Obamacare bill to see what's in it. The red-headed libertarian tweeted out there on Twitter. It said, ironically, this would be the first time Chuck Schumer has read a bill in 26 years. Somebody else tweeted out, that's like not knowing how to grill a cheeseburger. You got to read the bill. Well, we read the bill. One person said, someone should have told him we have to pass it to know what's in it. Again, playing back to the Obamacare days. Somebody else posted on Twitter or X, regardless of how you feel about the big, beautiful bill, how do you feel about Chuck Schumer requiring the bill to be read aloud? This person says, I think it's a big waste of taxpayers' money. It's juvenile. It's rebellious. It's just plain wrong. It won't accomplish a thing except making him look like a jackwagon, basically. So Paul writes on Twitter, says, big, beautiful bill is still being read out loud in the Senate. This is how Chuck Schumer, the Democrats, decide to waste our government resources. It's indicative of everything the Democrat Party does. They have nothing to offer America. Somebody else says, so now Chuck Schumer's interested in reading a bill. And so anyway, Chuck Schumer's little gambit might have backfired, because the bill contains, all for the Democrats to have to hear, the definition of biological sex or biological gender. If you have a twig and berries, then you are a boy. If you don't have that and you have eggs inside of you that are able to be fertilized on occasion, then doggone it, you also are biological female. And that was in there. So there you have it. Chuck Schumer is backfires on old Chucky. All right, I talked about the fatwa. The Ayatollah has come out with a fatwa on Donald Trump. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. I want to play something for you. I like giving you flashbacks. Go back on a lot of the shows. I'll oftentimes go back and do a story about the COVID or the Dr. Fauci, the little F or the booger cootie virus. I do all sorts of flashbacks, because I think it's important that you never forget the lies you were told. Never forget the lies of the CDC, the FDA, the Dr. Fauci, the little effer, the Dr. Scarf, the pharmaceutical companies. Never forget the lies they told you. Never forget about myocarditis. Never forget about the vaccine injured. Never forget about the social distancing, the shutting down the schools. Never forget about the small businesses and the restaurant industries that were destroyed. Even here in our great state of Colorado, Jared Polis should never be forgiven politically. He can find redemption in our Lord and Savior. That's between him and God. But he's not going to find political respite for me because the way he dastardly destroyed the state, the economy, he destroyed the mental health of students. There were suicidal kids on the blood on the hands of politicians who were cruel and unusual, all to protect us from the booger cootie virus. And it should never be forgotten. Even in 2026, you should look at these politicians and say, let's remember about how you handled the COVID. When Gavin Newsom puts his aqua-netted hair out there and runs for president, when J.D. fat-ass Pritzker up in Illinois decides to run for president, when all these governors, he's in Michigan, right? No, Michigan's the woman, the one you don't want to look in her eyes. She's evil. Yeah, Gretchen Whitmer. When all these people run for president, you need to look at them and realize the evil that they perpetrated in the name of public safety. Even after we knew that it was a farce and it was a fraud, they continue to crack down like tyrants on people in their state. And you need to remember that about Gretchen Whitmer. You got to remember that about big fat ass J.D. Pritzker. And you got to remember that Aquanet Gavin Newsom guy, that he also was a disaster when it came to COVID and the dealing of shutting down our schools. Jared Polis in Colorado should never be politically forgiven for what he did. So I like to do segments that flashback. Go back last week, we had a couple of guests talking about some of the discoveries that we made in the pharmaceuticals, and we do stories like this. And you can go to the stream podcast platform, and you'll find great stories. Some of them got shut down on the YouTube; they were so good about the booger cootie virus and Dr. Fauci, the little effer who is guilty of crimes against humanity, in my personal opinion. Well, I want to give you a flashback. I'm not going to play the whole thing for the sake of time today, but this is how crazed the Democrats were. And I just want to play this for you. Just the time you think, Jimmy, you got to let it go. You got to let this thing go. Listen, if Democrats can hold on to reparations and want to talk about slavery that happened a century ago, then we can hold on to what happened in 2020 and the destruction of Americans' freedoms happened. And you had jackwagons like this out there, okay? So this is under the category of let's never forget. And it's also in the category of tell me you're a bat crap crazy libtard without telling me you have a Joe Biden sticker on your car. Anybody remember this kind of crap?
Dr. Fauci, give us vaccines. Help all the people who have been quarantined. We'll wear our masks.
I got to find the whole thing. I had the whole thing. I didn't want to play the whole thing. But I want to just throw that out there. You need to remember these people are crazy. The people that are telling you they're standing against Donald Trump, they're the people that thought that guy was a fantastic thing. And I've got another question here. Remember I talked about Doge and the Democrats getting together and singing and dancing and doing all the stuff they were doing about how they hated Elon Musk. Remember all that stuff? Why is it when Democrats want to protest, they sing? They get on the Capitol steps. Remember, they all want to link arms and they were singing. How many bad songs did we hear by Democrats about Doge and their hatred for Elon Musk and Donald Trump? And when they're trying to celebrate the virtues of Dr. Fauci, who's not a very virtuous man, I think he's an evil man, in my personal opinion. Why is it that they want to sing? If any of you are out there and you're of the liberal persuasion, can you tell me why it is that your side likes to come up with songs? I mean, when Donald Trump and Thom Tillis get into it, not to be mistaken for Mel Tillis, by the way, because Mel Tillis would sing. Look that up. But not to be mistaken for Mel Tillis, but Thom Tillis, they just go out. They get in battle on X. Democrats start busting into song. Well, I'm going to find this whole song and we're going to play it this week, producer Chad. But this is how crazy by the way, if you think they were crazy then, they're just as crazy. Just a lot of them have taken their mask off. Some of them haven't, though. Some of them have not taken their mask off.
Dr. Fauci.
There we go.
Give us vaccines.
Help this guy's
all
even
the
alive.
People who have been quarantined. We'll wear our masks.
I hate to say it, but there's a likelihood, as anxious as he was to sing that song, there's a likelihood this guy might want to have his heart checked out. Might want to check that ticker. Stacy says, I did not take the COVID booger cootie shot. I used to take the flu shot. Now I don't even trust that. Talked about that a lot of the show, my friends. How many times what we used to trust, we can no longer trust. And a lot of that's because people like this jackwagon that believed what the little effort Dr. Fauci said, hook, line, and sinker. Do you know the latest study says that you have an increased likelihood of instant death, dropping dead? I'm going to try to depress you. They think from 10 years from the last time you got your last poke, the study said there's a very highly increases. You can just drop dead. I saw the stat of how many athletes have died in the line of business. Yeah, it's I play that is humorous, but I play that to get those feelings going again and remember what they did to us. Roger says, I will never forgive those that ostracized us, the unvaccinated, tried to give us a scarlet letter. Shame on them. Roger, you're absolutely right. And that's why of all the shows, a lot of folks not want to go back and Dr. Fauci. We got a lot of burning news. But anytime I can come back and remind you of the stupidity, not just of Dr. Fauci, but governors like Jared Polis. Jared Polis, you were complicit in crimes against humanity because how you treated businesses and students and young people and unvaccinated people. The crimes against humanity of they're real concerned about the vaccine, the booger cootie virus, and they let thousands and tens of thousands of undocumented, unvetted, uninoculated people across our southern border, and yet they fired people from hospitals. They fired people from the military. They did all this stuff to people that had made a different choice. And decided not to get the booger cootie jab. And you know what? I've said this before. I've never met anybody who didn't get the jab. This is, man, I wish I would have got it. I may go get it tomorrow. You can still go get it. I have met several people if it's ever come up that regret getting it. And that's sad. And you were propagandized by fools like this guy singing about Dr. Fauci. I'm going to play the whole song, and I only bring that back up not to relive the past, but for us to be reminded of the past and be reminded that the fools that perpetrated that are soon, first of all, going to run for re-election. Some of them are going to run for president, and we need to remember the people that lied to us the most are the ones who still want that political power, and I say they should never get it, and politically, they should never be forgiven. God can forgive them. My Lord and Savior can forgive anybody, but I'm telling you, I'm not going to forgive you politically for what you did there. That is an unforgivable, unretrievable sin. Arloa jumps back in from the state of Texas and says that's why we no longer trust these things that are perpetrated by the government. And Roger jumps back in the Facebook feed. He says it was the people next door, is the business that closed their doors to you. Don't give them business today. Absolutely right. Those businesses that were tyrants, those businesses that were harsh on you, those businesses that none of them deserve your business. And again, I just flash it back, and I do it just so you can relive it and remember. There's a score to settle politically, and a lot of these people are still running for office. Scott says, wife and I are purebloods, and damn thankful to be. You and me both. And I'm telling you, I've never met anybody who regrets. I've never met anybody who regrets not getting it, but I have some people say, dang. I had one friend tell me, he says, I'm afraid I'm going to drop dead. He told me that. He's fearful. He used also to defend Dr. Fauci, the little effer. So anyway, that's kind of random. I know it has nothing to do with the big, beautiful bill, has nothing to do with your 4th of July cookout. But when I saw that, it was too good to be true. And I had to put it out there for you to contemplate and consider, and never, ever, ever forget what they did to you and how they lied to you. And Jared Polis is one of them right here in the state of Colorado, but many of you across America have also horrible governors that did the same thing. Cuomo up in in New York did that. You have the Washington lady, the governor up there. You had Pritzker in Illinois. You had Gretchen Whitmer. You had Gavin Newsom. These are tyrants, and they want more political power, and they don't deserve it at all. All right. Good to have all of you here on the program. It's 4th of July week. Going to try to have some fun this week. A lot of American history coming your way, as well as we'll continue to follow the big, beautiful bill. I want to remind you about Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. Sherry's going to be on the show tomorrow, 8:45 in the Mountain Time Zone, 10:45 out east. And Sherry Cree is a fantastic realtor that I endorse. And I would invite you to reach out to her and talk about your real estate dreams and aspirations. I kind of chuckle because, there's a lot of realtors, and there's a heck of a lot of people that can put signs in your yard. But I don't think you're going to find anybody that has this perspective or the paradigm or the view that Sherry brings to it, because she doesn't just want to put the sign in your ear. She can help you with staging. She's fantastic on getting the price in the market and helping you kind of, maybe you do this, going to put you in a better place in 10 years on the equity. I mean, she can really get that big level, strategizing with you. She's happy to do that. But the key is she goes into this not to get the sale. I mean, that's a goal, right? She wants to get a sale of your home, but she also wants to earn the right. And she knows it's a right, not a right, it's a privilege. She wants to earn the privilege of becoming your family's realtor for life. So she's approaching everything, not just about getting the quick sale, not just about putting the sign in your yard, not just about you getting top dollar one time, but she wants the next time you decide to upsize, downsize, decide to move, relocate in the state, out of the state, you want a new school district, you want a ranch style home, whatever it is, she wants to be the realtor that she's earned the privilege for you to call again. So she's not just thinking about a short-term stick a sign in the yard and move on. She's thinking about long-term relationship and how she can help you accomplish your goals, because she knows that with real estate done right, it can help you create generational wealth. And you don't have to be a Rockefeller or somebody with the royal blood in you to have generational wealth to pass down. Real estate can be a way that you do that, and you pass something on to the next generations of your family. And she goes in from that perspective. She also goes in the perspective of she's going to make a sale, but she also wants that sale to make an impact. And so she will ask you what your charity is, and she'll give a portion of her proceeds out of her pocket to the charity of your choice. If you're a first responder, if you're a veteran, you serve your country, Sherry will discount her own commissions just to let your real estate dreams come true. She really just checks all the boxes when it comes to making sure that you're taken care of. And I really highly recommend that you reach out to her, even if you have not, maybe you're 6 months away, maybe you're a year out. Start the strategy session with Sherry, and maybe you're ready to stick a yard sign up tomorrow. That's fine too, but don't hesitate to start calling early. You got to find that realtor, that real estate person that's really going to have your best interest. And I would recommend Sherry, homeswithsherry.com. Go to the website. She'll be on the show with me tomorrow morning at 8:45. Don't miss it. If you got a question for her, send it to me. Info@Jimmy Lakey, a question, and I'll pass it on and see if she can come on the program with an answer for those questions. Maybe a real estate market question. Feel free, stick it to us. Info@JimmyLakey.com, and I'll get those questions over to Sherry today, and she'll be on the program tomorrow. Also, I want to remind you, today's the final day of the month. A lot of you get paid today, perhaps. You get paid the last day of the month, first and 15th, or 15th and the 30th. Rivers Promise, riverspromise.org. Tomorrow, we're going to be announcing, it's live now. We'll be sending out the links today. Our charity golf tournament, our 9th annual charity golf event, is Friday, September the 5th. It's always the Friday after Labor Day. Registration is open up as of today. Sponsorship opportunities opened up as today. It's a fantastic event. Friday, September the 5th. Registration is now open. I'll be linking that out there on the social media feeds here in just a bit. The website is still populating the information correctly. I wish I could tell you where to go, but I'll send it out on social media. We'll get it up, all linked up here, hopefully today, and you can get registered. It's a Colorado National Golf Club in Erie, Colorado. It's just north of Denver, centrally located for all of you of the northern Colorado, and it's our 9th annual event, and I appreciate you being there Friday, September the 5th. Make sure you get it on your calendar. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what's in my hand? It is the meme roulette wheel. It's also called a globe, and we're going to spin it and find out exactly where the memes come from. The stolen memes section of the show. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Mickey Rourke and Axl Rose look like a lesbian couple who own an antique shop in Portland. I'm sorry, those of you listening to the podcast, you're missing this one. I looked at it, said, I recognized one of them, but I didn't know that's who it was. I said, that looks familiar. As Mickey Rourke and Axl Rose looking like they're a lesbian couple who own an antique shop in Portland. Maybe they do. I don't know. Round and around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. We got stolen meme section of the show. Supreme Court last week legalized Trump presidency. Headline for the Babylon Bee. The legalization of the Trump presidency happening at the Supreme Court. Ketanji Brown Jackson still trying to figure out how to spell president, but nevertheless, That's what DEI hires to get you on the Supreme Court. Right around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Over 90 private jets flew to Jeff Bezos' wedding. But don't forget to recycle, turn off the lights when you leave the room, and always use paper straws only. Do you hear Bezos got married? He remarried. I'm sure there's a big prenup on that one. I think they said she's a 50-something-year-old woman with kids. She has her own children. Yeah. No, you'd think Bezos might have gone for, younger. Nothing wrong with a 50-year-old woman. I'm just saying Bezos, sometimes that's a trend among the uber elites and wealthy, is that they go for, they go so. I know what somebody's thinking. So they say they go for some of the fewer miles on it. Well, they do sometimes. But hey, beautiful lady, I'm sure, and she's got kids. And Bezos is married again, and prenup is in place. But yeah, they all fly private jets. But hey, you keep sucking down that that paper straw. Don't forget it. Save the planet. Where's Greta Thunberg? How dare you? We miss Greta, don't we? Round and around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Babylon Bee headline, wife offers husband compromise. If he lets her get chickens, she'll let him do all the work. Some of you men say, yeah, my wife's done that to me as well. That's compromise, man. That's compromise. Keep your marriage healthy again. Round and around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. I think this may be one of our last ones. You ready for this? The same people who have been laughing that Trump has to abide by judges' rulings, after 627, that's last week, they're going to be arguing that they shouldn't listen to judges' rulings that they don't like. This is true. The hypocrisy of the whole thing. Listen to the judges. He's not above the law. Supreme Court comes down. Donald Trump gets to do this. He's the bad. Don't listen to the judges. They don't know what they're talking about. Roger says that was the second wedding this year for Bezos. He got married in Aspen, shut down the whole area. Kamala visited, caused a huge issue, massive global carbon footprint up there. So this was a show wedding. He's already had a private wedding. Good to know. Bezos getting married. That's because Roger hangs out with the people with their pinkies in the air up in Aspen, I guess. Jim says the paper straw that comes in the plastic wrapper. Yeah, that one. Isn't it amazing that you had to get the paper straws for a while, but if you went to the grocery store and you're having a picnic, you still got the plasticware. You still got the plastic plates and the plastic cups for your 4th of July. By the way, I think everybody get extra plasticware for your 4th of July. Everybody make up for all the plastic straws that we have not been allowed to have for many years until Donald Trump declared the plastic straws should be redeemed and put back on the shelves in America. Everybody get extra solo cups, extra stuff there. And when you do so, celebrate America with plastic. Just the way it should be. All right. Glad to have you here. I appreciate all of your questions of the day hopping in. It seems like we have a consensus. No one, at least my ruling stands. I said that apple pie should never be a la mode. A la mode, that never do that. Don't put ice cream on a pie. And I said, tell me I'm wrong. And I'm pleased to say that no one told me I'm wrong. But the sad thing is this audience also never said that it's wrong. I was the only guy that said it's wrong to have cheese on an apple pie. I'm still trying to get my head around that. If you joined us late, Scott's wife in the chat room likes to put warm American cheese on her apple pie. And other people were saying, cheddar would be good as well. And for that, we're going to have to just pray that God will help all of you. Really will. All right, don't forget, give to charity. We'd love to have your help. End of the month, you get paid today. $65 would sponsor a kid. We got a lot of kids that need sponsors right now. If you can help us out, just donate $65 or go pick a child off the website. That child will write you a letter and send you a little notes, and you'll get Christmas cards from them or Christmas letters from them. And they love communicating with their sponsors. Not required that you write back. They love it when you do. I'm just giving you a hint. Or if you don't want to have to go pick a child, it's too hard. $65 sends a kid to school for an entire month. It feeds them for an entire month. It gives her health insurance for an entire month. It really wraps them up in the arms of love and care that they would not have normally. It's riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. And don't forget today, watch for the links as our golf tournament goes on sale. And we'd love to have you be a part of that indeed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. Tomorrow's going to be a big-time Tuesday edition of the show. I am thoroughly hungry after the discussion of 4th of July Independence Day barbecue food. I'm hungry. Maybe time to eat some breakfast around here. Delilah, got any catering in the green room? Donuts. I need our green room budget to be cleared by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We should not eat all that stuff like that. Everybody, God bless you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. You don't.